Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to bring the music back. Hey, you know what? I'm not even mad at it. The music could play because we need some joy in our lives. Welcome to the Culture Commission. Excuse me, we have a little frozen and some technical difficulties. 1 second. Mm. I'm back. Let's go. Wow. Well, let me tell you this: the devil is a lie, and I'm gonna start off with that. Technical difficulties, all the difficulties and challenge cannot stop Black America, cannot stop this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the State of the Union. State of the Union. Black America, unapologetically spoken, but real and true, nonpartisan, fact-based information to tell you what the hell is going on in this country. This week's program, we are bringing some special guests to the forefront to talk number, to talk data, real conversations to spark change so you can walk away knowing not only what's going on, but also what's to come with real solutions. My name is Robert Slater, chairman of the Culture Commission Coalition, chairman of the Culture Network. I'm also a congressional candidate for Texas CD 29, the new district founded by the redistricting process that this recent governor did. But more importantly, I am a Black man that stands on civil rights, social justice. And I want you to listen and pay attention. We're going to bring the information each and every week. So without further ado, I want to bring on a great mind, a thought, a think tank pioneer. He is the founder of Physic, based out of Washington, D.C., a CDFI. His right-hand person, we call him numbers guy, economist, Mr. William Cunningham will be joining us. We have a gentleman out of New Jersey, Mr. Martin Macy, that's going to bring some data and some things that he's going through right now. He's a forefront warrior. And without further ado, we have the incredible, honorable Dr. Steele, chairman of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, mentee of the great Dr. Martin Luther King. And so these gentlemen are joining on this platform so we can spark real conversation. So, Mr. Keevan, what are we going to talk about today? What is going on in this country?
Wow. I would say what's not going on. It'd be easy to do what's not going on versus what is going on. But so you try to break these conversations down into very targeted processes. Like just a big puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle. And so these guys, today's conversation is going to be about the shutdown, but more importantly about the role Black Americans play with the government. Like, what I always tell people, I would trade all of the government programs we got for our fair share of the contracts. So I got Bill Cunningham just wrote an article that was published in Black Enterprise about what Blacks are losing out on and from the shutdown. And we're going to talk about what we need to do. You and I've talked, Rob, about making sure that we think about the next step. But Trump's been in office 10 months and the whole world's on fire. So we got 3.5 more years of this to go. And, we weren't doing well before. We'll talk data. We weren't doing well before. And so the idea is not to lament what's being taken away, but to figure out what we have going forward, what we can make happen. And then Dr. Steele is going to talk about, inevitably when, we talk about solutions, you mentioned your intro and solutions. Well, whenever I say solutions or people say they want solutions, what they really mean to me is they want something that's not going to cause them any pain, right? They want an answer that's going to get them everything they want without any pain. So Dr. Steele is going to, I've talked to him several times about this. He's inspirational about how much struggle it has to go through, and even how he's had to struggle with when he could take pain and when he couldn't take pain in this fight for social justice. So when he could call out leaders when he couldn't. So he's going to talk about that. And then Martin, he is a warrior and a half, right? I mean, in every way possible. And we were talking today, and he's been working in New Jersey. He's got 3 events scheduled between now and the gubernatorial election. He just helped some daycare owners get access to the free daycare system so you get contracts, because in New Jersey, blacks aren't getting any contracts. And so all of that together is part of the one piece of this puzzle, which is us using advocacy, but what it costs for us to be advocates. How much we're going to, no one's going to give us money for nothing. If they were going to do that, we'd already have money, right? So the idea is, understanding where we are, understanding what, the pain we may have to suffer through. Like, for instance, if food stamps, the government shutdown is a real opportunity for us, right? The shutdown means no one's getting any money, or very few people are getting money, right? And that could work to our advantage because we weren't getting any money anyway. So it's bringing everyone else down to our level, right? And so having that conversation about, people not, our elected officials, like if you become a member of Congress, not trading your vote for nothing. Like, I mean, like, Medicaid's fine, but, the Medicaid numbers are basically 20% of Medicaid is Black participation. Black doctors make 5% of all doctors. That means if every Black Medicaid patient saw a Black doctor, that's still only 1% of Medicaid money going to Black doctors. Probably even less than that, because not all that money goes to doctors. It goes to pharmacies. It goes to like radiology. It goes to all these other things. So we're probably, like we are in everything else, less than 1% of even Medicaid funding money when it comes to our people. So I want us to have that conversation about the sacrifice it's going to make if we're going to change what everyone says they want to have change. Because everyone says they want to change, but no one's willing to. As I talked to another civil rights guy the other day, and he said, "Yeah, people say, well, what can I do? What can we do to make a difference?" I said, "Well, you start by giving me $1,000." So that shuts down every conversation. So that's the end of the conversation. No one wants to give, no one wants to sacrifice, and so that's what this is about. So I'm gonna let Bill come in, and Bill and I've had this conversation. I want him to talk about the numbers, like what's in it, but then let's talk about the reality about where Blacks are with federal government and how much we actually don't have to lose versus if we just got our fair share of contracts and jobs. So go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for throwing me out there, man. That's like right into the fire. Bottom line is this, and as you and I know, we talked about this. I'm gonna put a link into the chat room of our Black Money Matters conversation from, I think it was 2018, where we talked about what Black people are missing in this country. Everybody talks about the $1 trillion in spending that Black people have. That's spending, that's not wealth, and you're light by half. You should, if you have 1 trillion, you should have 2 trillion. We talked about how the incarceration rates result in a $50 billion loss of wages to the Black community, because you have so many of your people, so many of your men incarcerated and working at basically slave labor rates. And that's money that does not come to the community. If they were out and about, they'd have a job doing something, and they would be bringing money into the community. This is what we saw in the 50s and 60s. And remember, what happened was, with the creation of that prison pipeline, you cut off a lot of the economic potential that the Black community was just beginning to realize, just teeing up for in 1968. We all know what happened in 1968 and the 60s and 70s, resulting in a massive loss. So no, we don't have anywhere near what we should have. Now, the most recent study that we've done is one that looks at the shutdown and the impact of the shutdown on Black and minority businesses. Now, if you look at Black and minority businesses, the loss so far, and I'd actually have to say that the shutdown has been, 3 weeks? Mm-hmm. I'd have to say that for the first 2 weeks, the loss to the Black and minority business community is $450 million. $450 million over 2 weeks. And that's money that you don't get back. That's money that's gone, because what it represents are contracts that are not being paid, federal government contracts not being paid. And as you also know, Kevin, we don't get the fair share of federal contracts anyway. Right. So, what we get is a pittance.
Well, out of that 400 million, how much of that is black, specifically black?
That's a good question. I'd say probably about 75 million.
Out of 400 million, yeah.
About 75.
It's about less than 1% of.
It's low. It definitely is low because, again, we don't get the contracts that we should get. When we do get the contracts, we have a higher cost to maintain those contracts because of the barriers that are put in our way by the federal government bureaucracy. And especially now, if you're black and you have a federal government contract, even though it's not getting paid, trust me, somebody at the White House is looking for a way to pull that contract away from, like right now. And there's literally nothing that we have strategized about doing about that, going into court immediately and saying, hey, this is unconstitutional, this is unfair, doing a social media campaign, just like the other side does, to highlight what's actually happening. Using all of the tools, Facebook, Instagram, and I don't know, the younger generation knows how to do that. I don't, but
Martin does.
We've seen that that's been used effectively. It is, if you know what you're doing, you can really use that to make a difference. But the bottom line is we were behind the 8 ball to begin with. We're even further behind with this extremist, racist, white supremacist agenda and behavior that we're seeing out of this administration. Unabashed white supremacy. Unabashed. 300,000 black women losing their jobs over the course of the past
6 months, 7 months, whatever. So I'm gonna throw some doctor. This is where, and this is what I struggle with, and what everyone I talk to struggles with. Like, I'm like, what everything Bill said is, I believe everything Bill says is true because our research kind of bores that out. The question is, do we hold out for a better solution, or do we say we'll take what little we had and we'll give it back to us? And Dr. Steele, I wanted to ask you, you've been through these battles. How much sacrifice do we have to give in your history, in your experience? Is it better for us to go ahead and just starve this out for a year and see what happens and then hopefully build back out? Or do we let them, we accept 300,000 black women have lost their jobs and whatever else they've taken from us in the Medicaid and the food, whatever else they've taken from us, do we just let that happen? Or do we say, no, leave the government shut, tell people who are like, Rob, we don't want you to vote for a government spending bill until we get our fair share of the contracts or whatever it is we want?
Well, let's start about how do we get here? Mm-hmm. And people don't want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. They're afraid. Mm-hmm. For what? Mm-hmm. Dr. King had 50% of color folks back then, Negroes, black folks, 50% did not support Dr. King. Yeah. Even in the religious community, they thought all of this was going to hurt in terms of the integration to a large degree, would take black folks out of the black church. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So Dr. King fought not only racist white folks, he had to fight stubborn black folks who refused to make any sacrifice but to maintain where we were. Mm-hmm. Now, let's go to the real problem that people don't want to talk about. 2013. What happened in 2013? June the 25th, 2:00 in the afternoon. What happened? That's when the U.S. Supreme Court gutted the 1965 Voter Rights Act. Yeah. I was on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court with 50 more people. Mm-hmm. I was there. Mm-hmm. And the point being, it should have been 50 million. It could have been. Who was president at that time? Hello?
Yeah, Barack Obama. You're president.
President Barack Obama was the president. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying, you got a bullet pulpit. Mm-hmm. It should have been preached to the community. Fair-minded thinking white folks, black folks, all folks would have filled the streets of Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. had it been known what was taking place.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
With a sign, don't gut Section 4 and Section 5 of the 1965 Voter Rights Act. That's where the problem began, right there. Because when the racist people of ethnicity, black, white, green, and blue, it ain't just white folks that's racist. We got some folks within our own race who are racist. You know, look at the system.
Yeah.
It's systemic. So what I'm saying is that when you don't stand up as a community, I was there along with the current president of SCLC, DeMarc Liggins, Senator Hank Sanders out of Selma, and also Fire Rose, his wife, along with others. Now, my point being, that's when it started. The Emancipation Proclamation came about through executive order. Executive order. It didn't go through Congress until 2 years later. It was ratified 2 years later. So they told President Abraham Lincoln, Mr. President, you can't do this. He said, I'm the president. I can do it. I can do executive order. Hello? Why we didn't get the restoring of the 1965 Voter Rights Act back through executive order?
Well, that comes to the point that we have to make. People didn't hold our elected officials accountable, right? I mean,
That's right.
What did you
That's
guys?
right.
I mean, what happened? I mean, that's what this whole conversation is about, right? Holding.
Right. But we got to go. Somebody say, well, let's talk about where we go from here. Well, you got to know how you got here.
Absolutely. But how did we get here? I mean, why didn't you guys do more against Obama in 2013, 2014 to get him to do more on the Voting Rights Act?
Well, to be honest, we were all, most of us were all committed to support this black president. The community did not have the background or the information of why we didn't have more folks. SCLC led the standing up with Senator Hank Sanders and his lovely wife, Fire Rose. We were there, but nobody was listening to us because you think politics can free us. Politics has never freed the oppressed. People left the civil rights movement and wanted to be stars and be elected. I was elected for 18 years, enjoyed it, and made a commitment. I ain't gonna stay here forever. I'm gonna do what I got to do and get out of here. Yeah. And I think I did a pretty decent job. But the point being is that we as a people do not understand the historicity of how we got here and where we should be right now. Why are elected officials not leaving marches? Leading marches all over this country. Nobody.
So I guess it goes back to what we're, and if we're gonna delve into this history, and I want to get to Martin, I want to get back to Bill, but if we're gonna talk about this, let's dig into it. When Tavis Smiley and what's his name,
Cornel
West came out against Obama and said he wasn't doing a good job, everyone just
they said he wouldn't be the right one for that particular position in the Oval Office, that he wouldn't represent us.
And everyone could. What happened? I mean, why didn't more people join that march? I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get to, because here's history past this prologue, right? So if we want to get people to do more now, we got to figure out why people didn't do more then. And what is that?
Right. That's correct.
And so what was holding you guys back? I mean, what was holding people back from doing what needed to be done?
Don't say you guys, say us.
I wasn't there. Well, I was there, but I wasn't there then. Yeah, but
you don't have to be there to be with us.
Yeah. So why wouldn't we? What did we not do? Well,
what's your question? Go with your question.
The question is, if past this prologue, how do we prevent the past from happening again? How do we make sure that
it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, how do we don't let our officials off the hook? Our elected officials. How do we stop this?
Well, first of all, we need to agree on what I just said is true.
Okay, I agree. All right, so now
I'm not just you. I know you do. I know this panel agree. We got to find a mechanism that we can use to tell the story of the truth. I don't know if we can go through the religious community. I don't know if we go through the HBCUs. Why the HBCU president's not talking like this?
That's a good question. That's why you're here. You're here to tell me. That's why I asked you to come and tell me to answer that question.
Well, it's been a struggle for me all my life because I've been talking like this. The bottom line is America is racist. The transatlantic African slave trade, and people don't want to talk about that. You know, the transatlantic African slave trade is real, and it's still in effect today. We don't have no economics. Capitalism came to America, you know why? Because of the transatlantic African slave trade. Selling Negroes, black folks, colored folks. That's how capitalism came. They said, oh, we can make a profit off of this.
Yeah.
So we got to understand the history. And then when you understand the history, I want you to get so mad. You say, let's go now. It's time to march. Non-violently is the only way we can be successful.
But so what are we? So we're marching. So listen, we're marching to get a result. And what's the result we're trying to get?
The results we kind of try to get. I just told you about capitalism. The results that we're trying to get is economics.
Okay. So
I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. Beautiful city. All the skyscrapers, you know. They'll let us get in position and run these cities, but they won't let us build none of these skyscrapers.
Have any of the money.
As you know, Kevin, I was going to Cleveland, Ohio 2 or 3 times a month.
I remember that.
To stop that erection of a $1.5 billion building downtown Cleveland, Ohio. They had 5 partners. No, excuse me. They had 9 partners. All of them were white men. White men. I had Cleveland all around me when I first went up there. I had them all around. Oh, Steele, I go to jail with you. Well, let's go. No, let's have a meeting tonight. Okay, we had the meeting tonight. We're gonna march and go to jail when you come back. I come back. I had 5 to 6 people around me when I had 100 folks with me when I
first time. Yeah.
What happened? Because of the economics, some money was dispersed. And some folks got some money.
The stuff right there. So here's that. So that becomes the part about the suffering. That's where I get where people are willing. How much suffering are people willing to go through?
Right.
To go to get to that next level, because that's the marching is the easy part, relatively speaking, right? That's the easy part. The hard part is withstanding the pressures. If you're a member of Congress and everybody in the leadership is telling you have to vote for the budget, even though there's nothing in it for Black people, how do you withstand that pressure?
Absolutely, but don't forget, representation in Congress has a responsibility of people of color and Black folks and fair-minded thinking white folks. Don't forget now, we can't do this without fair-minded thinking ethnicity of all folks. We got to have the white folks and the Hispanic and all who want to work for fairness for all our people. Right. And that's how we survive today.
But does that mean we give our votes away when we aren't getting? So I'm all for we have to work together, but there's 60 members of the Black Caucus. If they're going to vote for a budget that allows for Black women to be fired from their jobs in the federal government, and they're going to vote for a budget that doesn't require fairness in contracting, is that something they should vote? I mean, where does that all come together?
It's not easy. You have to be committed to give up your life, and then you get killed talking like I'm talking. You understand what I'm saying? You have to be willing to sacrifice. The ultimate goal is to free our people regardless of what it takes. Even the supreme sacrifice of dying for what is right. And most of us don't want to do that. Put your life on the line.
Most of us don't want to give $5 a month, so I get that. Yeah. Which is what this conversation is about. So Martin, I'm gonna let Martin talk for a second because he told me a cool story today about he's representing he's all over the place, but he's working with these Black daycare. You tell the story about your daycare client, Martin, and what happened today or yesterday.
All right, so I have a small marketing company I started. I found that I think the numbers were I think it was something like 30% of small businesses fail in the first 2 years, and then I saw a statistic that said like 80% of Black businesses fail within the first 18 months. And being an entrepreneur all my life, I know what it takes to try to start a business and, you know, what you have to put out to do it. And so I hate to see any business fail because I know what people put into it. So I started to try to help small businesses and got involved with Kevin and started to do a whole bunch of different things. But along the way, they all sort of came together and meshed. So I had this customer. She owns a Black daycare in a Black inner city area. She was getting squeezed from all angles. You know, they cut the social safety net. There's something called 4 C's, subsidized childcare, which probably 70% of her customers use this 4 C's childcare. And so that was difficult. And then the other side started to get squeezed from when they had this new program where they have free daycare in her city. So it took her a while. We talked about it. We tried to make efforts to kind of stem what was going to happen to her. And she got hit in the face with it one day. The other day she called me. She goes, "Martin, I can't believe what I'm seeing." And I'm like, "What are you seeing?" She said, "I have nobody in these seats. I have no kids. I have nobody calling. I can't believe this." I said, "Well, this is what we've been working for the last 3 months. We knew it was coming. I'm surprised that you're surprised." But I said, "All right, let's review everything we've done." And we had reached out to the city council. We reached out to the mayor. We wrote to philanthropists. We wrote to everybody asking for help, asking them to tell us what's going on and give us some help. And no one would. No one's responded. So she's in the middle of being all upset about this. And I said, "Let's review this." We reviewed it. I said, "Look, here's what we're going to do." I said, "The mayor of your city is Black. We wrote him. He hasn't responded. You're going to go to his office."
Stop, wait there. You wrote the mayor and the city council. Nobody responded.
Nobody responded.
Okay, go.
I said, "So let's take it to the next level." Like, and I reminded her a lot of the stuff I learned. These politicians, they work for us, right? Mm-hmm. So I told her, I said, "Listen, the mayor works for you. You've been in this town 7 years, paying taxes in this town, right? This mayor belongs to you. He has to serve you. So when you go in there, tell him that you're here to speak to the mayor, period. And if he's not there and unable to speak to you, you do not come out of there until they put you on his calendar, until you have a date to speak with him. Don't take no for an answer." So she did that. She went in and he wasn't there. And she demanded that they put her on a calendar. And I guess the woman she was speaking to had enough. She said, "I tell you what, I'm going to give you his cell number. You can call him. Call him right now." And she called the mayor. And he was more than gracious to her. He understood where she was coming from. He knew she had a problem. He wanted to know where she had been. Why didn't he know about her before this? And he said, "I know why I don't know about you, because you never invited me to your daycare. But at anyway, that's water under the bridge. I'm here for you now." And he said, "Well, there's going to be overflow of children that we're going to have to farm out to other places. That could be you. I'm going to introduce you to the right people as soon as the woman's back from vacation this week. And we'll set up an appointment and we'll meet and we'll talk."
That I know, Martin, I drug you on here to tell that story because that's holding people accountable. That's the exact example of holding elected officials accountable, right? Because, you know, and it was not easy. I'm sure it took a lot of courage for that woman to walk in. She's never probably ever done that in her life, but you know, and you're gonna have to hold his feet to the fire. I mean, just because he said it doesn't mean it's gonna happen. She's gonna have to still work on it. But that is the message that we have to tell for everybody. I mean, and that back to Dr. Steele, and you know, and this woman's paying. She's actually doing what a lot of people don't. She actually is paying you money to help her, right? A lot of people don't, like a lot of Black contractors, don't spend any money on advocacy, right? They don't spend any money for this kind of advice. So it's a real important thing that people learn in this conversation. I mean, like I said, government shutdowns come and go, budgets come and go. The process of advocacy is a thing that's consistent. That's why it's in the Constitution. So I wanted you to tell that story because I thought it was, of all the things I heard all day, that was the most inspirational thing I'd heard all day today. So thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
You know, Robert, you know, I could bring Bill back on. We could talk about numbers some more, talk about this, but you know, this is what it is. I mean, this is if we're going to use this platform, and I'm happy to come on this platform, but we got to do what Dr. Steele just said, which is get more people to do what Martin just did, right? I mean, if we had 1,000 Martins running around the country and all these, you know, that 0.14% number of contracts might be different. If 1,000 of him were going into legislative offices and sending their clients and customers in offices, that's how you make change. Because otherwise, there's no reason to get, like Dr. Steele said, you start in the street. They're going to get elected. Hopefully, getting elected is to make change, and that's the conversation we need to have.
Well, absolutely. And also to expound on what Dr. Steele said, I think we need to truly look at the past and break it down because it repeats itself. We've been here before. Harriet Tubman freeing slaves. Some people thought their living conditions was good enough. Their imaginations were cut short. They couldn't think of better or freedom because what the division and conquering and spoon feeding had given them was just enough to survive, and they wasn't willing to risk that for the greater good. Yeah. We look at civil rights with Dr. King and so many. We got it good now, you know, and some got good jobs, and I'm just worried about my family, and we're in silos now. And so the greater good is compromised because those choose to have what little that they have is at a risk, right? We're here again. And because of the economics, and we have some haves and have-nots, unfortunately, we have been compromised by economic status and some folk that just think that it may not affect them. We're too comfortable. And I always say, what if Dr. King was a congressman at that time, or if Brother Malcolm X was a senator? And that's why I'm running for office, to bring civil rights within the system. And let me be clear. It is that time right now. This is Jim Crow 2.0, the ultimate sacrifice. But our leaders, you cannot lead as a politician, because I'll say it, you're compromised because you're bought. Your donor system, your APEC, you're already compromised. And because you want to hold on to your seat of power, you compromise the messaging and what we're talking about. Here we are in the shutdown, and we're still talking about Obamacare.
Right.
I'm confused. Obamacare?
Almost 20 years ago, right?
We're not talking about federal contracts. We're not talking about the education system. We're not talking about the assault on the voter rights. We're not talking about any of those things that is affecting Black America, because Black politicians are afraid to say Black America matters. And I say it, I support the former President Barack Obama, but he didn't do enough. And we need to have that conversation. Because when we had the opportunity, Democrats as a whole, when they had the control of the full congressional body, there were things that were not passed and they had opportunity of, including a Supreme Court justice. We were tripping. We played games and we got our asses whooped, excuse my language. And so now we're trying to fight from behind and try to get ahead. And we're allowing the messaging to dictate limitations. If you say Black lives matter, they say, well, all lives matter. You say diversity and equity, DEI. They even took woke. Woke was a cool thing in the 90s with your African medallion. They weaponized every single thing that we hold on to for hope. But we allow them. And so you have some, like, where's the D9? Where are the lawyers associations? Where are the former presidents? I hope that Kamala Harris's book sell out to 100 million copies. I get it. What the hell does that do for Black America? We have the president right now tearing down parts of the White House that was built by slaves to build a $200 million bar. Who the hell builds a ballroom if they planning on leaving? So when we talk about sacrifice, to hell with you if you don't understand that people went out there and marched and got bit by dogs. They faced the pressure of water hoses, our mothers, our grandmothers, and our women. But the problem now is, where is the men? We rallying around Jasmine Crockett. Where the hell is the men? Marvin Winans, the pastor, talking about $1,200 versus $2,000. That wasn't, like, come on, guys, the preachers. But I tell the people that we've seen this before. Look not into someone to save you. We've always saved ourselves. And so true leadership have to step up. You have to step forward to educate yourself, like platforms like this. Don't be misinformed about it. So we're arguing about the wrong things. We have to mobilize, educate, and sacrifice. We have to give up a little, but I guarantee you it will get better. God brought us to it. He'll walk us through it. Some things are destroyed so we can rebuild, because it wasn't designed for us in the first place. And so when this rebuilding comes along, we want to make sure we have the right people at the table, because our congressional leaders right now, many in the Congressional Black Caucus, man, I don't want to hear it. You got to go too. Just plain and simple.
Well, no.
So I'm gonna Bill, but I'm gonna give you time, Bill. Before Bill Cunningham, I will say that Bill Cunningham calls me every week. Kiva, y'all sending an amicus brief on this? Or y'all gonna do an amicus brief? He does more amicus briefs than any major law firm in the country. And you talk about the black lawyers. Bill is all on that. So I give him kudos because he is, without a big budget, he is always doing the stuff. So go ahead, Bill.
All right. So the answer to your question, I have the answer. Now, nobody ever listened to me. Remember, I had the answer in 2014 to buy Bitcoin. And some black businesses did, and they did very well. So here's what we need. We need radical collaboration and cooperation. If I can share the screen, if I can share my screen, I will show you, let's see here. This one, up, window. Okay, here we go. I think this should work.
You sound like a robot. Is that him or that's just me?
He's on. I hear him fine.
Can you see? You see everything? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
All right, can you see my slide?
Yes. Black
All right.
Both in the black community, yes.
Wealth and the black community. Wealth maximization, this focus on money is the wrong goal. It's always been the wrong goal. The reason why it's the wrong goal is because you don't control the monetary system and never will. What black people have done is they focused on life maximization because a materialistic focus will never work in a society that does everything it can to deny material comfort to black people as a way to maximize white wealth. The solution is to realize that wealth in this culture is a proxy for life. Black people are experts at survival and life maximization in the most continually hostile environment on earth. This, not money, is what you should be focused on. So let me drill down here a little bit and explain that. So what does that mean? Well, what does that mean, Bill? What that means is that you're going to have to cooperate and collaborate radically, not only among black people, because that's kind of what happened in the 50s and 60s. So there was radical cooperation and collaboration. That spirit was destroyed by monetary interests coming into the black community and so, you got the people who focus on gold chains and, all this other material kind of stuff, so that collaborative and cooperative focus was destroyed. You have to reestablish that. And you also have to look to cooperate and collaborate cross-ethnic lines, as Dr. Steele correctly pointed out. We've never made progress unless we've had white allies, Asian allies, Hispanic allies, Native American allies. The great thing about our current situation, the great news, I got good news and bad news. The good news about our current situation is that everybody should know that everybody's in trouble. Every single soul is in trouble unless you're following a white supremacist mindset and a white supremacist set of policies. That should be clear. That should be incentive enough to foment some really radical cooperation and collaboration across ethnic groups. It's not going to be easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Remember, all these other ethnic groups who have come in, the Indians, and I mean the East Indians as well as the Native Indians, the Africans who've come over here and benefited from our sacrifice, the sacrifice. So that's the whole, what's that group, Kevin?
ADOS.
ADOS. That's the whole argument of ADOS. And they have a point. They actually have, I think they go too far, but look, they have a point. But the bottom line is, given this current crisis, given this situation, if we can't radically collaborate and cooperate now, then we never will. Now, on the financing side, because people, now again, I'm not saying that we don't live in a capitalist society and that money is not required. Money, of course, is required in order to gain access to the resources that you need to live. It's the whole point of economics. But there are tools that we can use. Crowdfunding, that we've been a big booster of. We ran blackcrowdfunding.net back in 2013 2014, 2015. And if that had taken off, a lot of our problems would be lower than they are now. But that's okay. Let's revisit that tool. We've talked about creating the black coin, a digital currency that you use to effectuate transactions among Black businesses, Black people among Black businesses. That's a huge idea. Every time I mention that in one of these conferences, all the white boys come around and, they're like, hey, great idea. Let's do that, So I know that will work. The bottom line is there are some things that we can do. Even not only are there tactics and strategies that we can use in the situation, but there are things that we can use that we cannot do unless we are in such dire straits. So let's use this dire environment to our advantage.
So
does that make sense?
Right.
Get that?
Kiwi, absolutely. Can I get 10 seconds, Kiwi, to add something?
Yeah.
So down here in Texas, you guys have seen how the redistricting and our governor who wants to be a mini. Anyways, we have created a plan called Project 2026 to mitigate what the damages of 2025. And Physic and you guys have done a great job in giving us a lot of data and information and breaking down some of these districts in the redistricting to where we actually see that we can push back and actually win these things. But the core of the matter, like the gentlemen on this panel are saying, is the messaging. And I compel all of the Democratic leaders right now and across this leaders period to unify on a message. This is about democracy versus a dictatorship. That should be what is on the ballot come these primaries that's coming up next year. Because what the issues is what separate us, whether you're progressive or conservative, whether you're independent, whatever. There's no point of talking about issues if you don't have a democracy. 42% of moderate Republicans or independents are in the center. We cannot win unless we reach out and compel to those folk. And so this tack on just encompassing all Republicans and all Democrats is what is also hurting us, because now you have middle America that don't know where to go. And so where we must win in messaging in a unified front, like you said, lead the front with protests, take advantage of these pulpits and come up with messages that always trickle down. And what we can do is start a message. This is about democracy versus a dictator. And guess what? A Republican that voted for Trump last time, who just had their benefits cut, who also was suffering under health care, they can partner with the Democrat against that without compromising their beliefs, because they believe in a democracy, true patriotism. So we have to give a unified message, but we have to be unapologetic about it. But it starts with us as well. So let's hold our leaders accountable. Let's also hold our civil rights leaders, our pastors. We have to call them to the matter, to the forefront. So
I got three things I want to say, Bill, and I'll let you. Then I actually want to talk to Dr. Steele, then I'll go back to you. But I want to say this about one thing about leadership. Everyone's waiting for someone to become the leader, right? And that's part of the problem. So like if I think a bunch of people are gonna have to present their ideas and someone's gonna emerge as the leader, right? And I do think that's something that, Dr. Steele, we talked about this in the past, that everyone was waiting for somebody else to take over and be the next, and that doesn't work. The other part is collaboration. Oh, and then you said something about Project 2026. Remember, Project 2025 started in 1971, so you're on a long path. I mean, this project, I think I sent you some stuff. They've been working on this since before Nixon, or during the Nixon administration. So there's a lot of pieces that come into this strategy. I mean, this is a 50-year process we're in. And then, Bill, you said the collaboration. I agree with the collaboration, but the problem for Black people, of course, since Black people don't put any money in, we're always our level of power in the collaboration is very low.
No, that's not what you need. What you need is go ahead.
No, so if I'm working with a bunch of groups and they're funding this thing and we're not putting any money in, then we don't have a voice.
Yeah, you've got to recognize that, and you've got to develop another strategy that gets you the cooperation and collaboration you need without the necessarily the funding, the dollars that you would normally expect in a situation like this. That's where, all kinds of other things. I'm interested in hearing from Dr. Steele on how SCLC did that in the early days, because Black people didn't have a lot of money there. But before you get to that, let me say this. One of the key problems that we have, remember, Obama missed the opportunity to take care of Donald Trump by bringing him up on charges of falsifying his financial statements, which he could have done, he should have done, the minute that guy started talking about his birth certificate. All he had to do was look. All he had to do was dig under that rock, and all that stuff would have popped up. We wouldn't be having this problem, had we taken care of that issue to begin with. I'll just,
I'm gonna call you on that, and I'm gonna up you. If Obama had just saved everyone's houses and sent Wall Street to jail, he would have saved the Democratic brand. So he had a lot of problems.
Hello. Thank you so much for saying that, Kevin. If I may interject, Mr. William Michael Cunningham, I agree with 98% of everything you say. But one thing, this is a capitalistic society. And you young folks out here, how in the world can you convince them or anybody to come and join our forces? When you go downtown Atlanta, you go to Houston, you go to New York, you go all over, and you see all these contracts, private contracts, as well as public. Nobody in the African American community is getting wealthy. Money controls the world, not just America. Now, I'm going to leave that over there. Another thing about African Americans that came out of slavery is jealousy. We have not been healed from slavery. White folks, not Black folks. And I've traveled the world. Prime Minister Ariel Sharon over in Israel before he died, he sent for me. And he said, there will never be world peace without the civil rights movement in America. And he said, it takes resources. We live in a capitalistic society. You can't go talk to China or no other country if you don't have no backing in the resources. The world is dealing with resources. So my whole point is that we must realize that we as a people have been so divided because we don't have the resources. Other folks will, as I struggled through the movement for over 40, 50 years, the opposition will give someone look like me some money to go on the radio and try to downgrade what I'm trying to do. They give them money. What do you do, Steele? I just talk louder. I had no money to give. And then sometimes the radio stations will lower my voice or won't have me on there. Then I go in the street. I go in the street and talk loud. But we have always had the problem not trusting one another because we had no money. I can buy the whole ethnicity of America if I had some money. Last point. What the administration and the Oval Office is doing now with executive order, that's so bad and hurting so many folks. Why the people who were supposed to be representing us didn't do this?
Yeah.
Not to the radical point of view of dismantling stuff, but to bring, as Kevin said, why are you going to give money back to the crooks in the financial institutions and say too big to fail? And I add something to that. Too big to fail and too big to go to jail. Nobody went to jail. So it's all about the money. And when you go and try to talk to people in leadership roles that we had at that particular time, they're not listening to you. They don't want to give up the money, the prestige, and the position. So in closing, I would like to say that we have to be healed and bring in all ethnicity of people. We never been healed because we don't trust one another. I'm in a business. I own a funeral home, 102 years old. You go and train people in your business, they end up being your biggest competitor. Hello, somebody.
Yeah. So, Dr. Before, I know we're running close on time, but Martin is a genius marketing guy, right? And as we're talking about ways to do this stuff without having a lot of money, the way he's been able to target for very little money. Talk about what you told me today, story you told me about how you were using Facebook ads or whatever. You were able to target several thousand people for $100 or whatever.
Yeah, so I made some videos, and I think one of the things, and I don't know how all this works, right? Like, I don't have any answers, but I do have a lot of try in me. So Keevan always uses the terms with me. He says, "Well, Martin, what would it take to make you do something?" So I always, and that's been my mantra as a salesperson. What would it take to put myself in the other person's shoes? What would it take me, if I were them, to purchase this product, right? So that's what I did. So anyway, I figured telling the message just as it is. So I do my own broadcasting, put together my own film. I do all that stuff. Bought the cameras, the lights, the action, everything. So I can make videos. So I make a 60-second video sending out the message that I want to send out. And so in this particular instance, we're having a meeting in the town. It's 80% Black. I'm going to send this message out to as many of these people as I can, just telling the truth. And the way to do it is through social media. So people watch YouTube. They watch YouTube a lot. Some people don't even have regular television anymore. They have YouTube TV, and they watch YouTube. So I'm getting on screens in this town of 80,000 people, 80% Black. I'm sending out my video is getting on the screen. It's getting on today, for instance. Let me just see real quick. So today I had 3,630 impressions. So I got on 3,630 televisions today. My video, my 1-minute video, telling the people exactly what I want to tell them. My words. 3,630 I got on. Of the 3,630, 65%. That's 2,370 of them watched it. So it's on the TV. They can click right by it if they don't want to watch it. They watched it. Keep these numbers in mind. 2,370 people saw my video today in this town of 80,000. And you know what it cost me? It cost me 2 cents a view. I spent $40 today. I spent $40 today to get my message in front of 2,370 people. Now multiply that by 5 days. I'm going to get into 12,000 people, 10 or 12,000 people who are watching my video from the beginning, not all the way to the end, not all of them, about 30% watching all the way to the end. 30% of those numbers. So 1,000 people today watched my video and heard my message from start to finish.
You heard that, Rob? So that's how you break this thing down. I mean, this is what,
Oh, but hold on. It's even better than that. You can dial this in so deep, it'd make your head spin, right? I can dial it into within a mile radius. Oh, I can get a 1 mile radius and just get these people in this 1 mile radius. Then I can break that down. I can break it down by age, by gender, by not wealth so much, but you can break it all the way down to as small as you want. You can really, really, really zero in. And there's some other tools out there that'll take it even further.
Dr. Go ahead.
And I think, and to add that, and I'll yield to Dr. Steele because I'm about to disengage from you guys. It's for us down here in Houston, H-Town, Texas, man. We have been without, this District 18 has been without representation over 200-something days. And then they split the district in two, and they put 60% of this district where that, Barbara Jordan and Sheila Jackson Lee and Mickey Leland. So, and 60% now is in a new district called District 29, which is currently held by Sylvia Garcia. So now they put Black folk against Hispanic folk. And we, as a constituency, are so bent on a number. District 18, only 25% of District 18 will remain when these maps flip in March. Mm-hmm. And so we switched from District 18, our campaign, to District 29, not to be advantageous, but because a community supersedes a number. And so to what Mr. Martin is saying is that, and everybody is saying, whether you call it a dream or naivete, whatever you say, and Kevin, you have been on this road before a minute since we announced we was running for Congress. The biggest value that I see that we have, because a lot of folk don't have the money, a lot of folk is scraping from check to check trying to make ends meet, is leveraging what influence, the things that they exploited us from, these social media creators, leverage the messaging medium and bring individuals together. So like the data that Mr. Martin just broke down, on a platform like this, we offer this platform to content creators for free. And Mr. Keevan, when you introduced me to President Liggins and Mr. Charles Brooks, well, we're trying to work out bringing the SCLC throughout here at Texas to make it the forefront like it was in civil rights back in 65, once again here in 2025. So it's identifying the opportunities that we have and the fortitude that we know that we can do and bringing them together. The biggest asset that we have is coming together. And I don't have the answer of what that looks like, but we got to stop selling ourselves short. We're voting for people that's popular. We're voting for people that we're familiar with, that we're comfortable with. We're ignoring the things and the hurt that cause because we're afraid to imagine something new. And so we have to sacrifice. We have to look inside. I don't even listen. I stopped talking about the Republicans and Donald Trump. We got to clean our own house. But this is a moment, and I'm about to yield, is that the reality is this here, folks.
Before you go,
there's more likely than not.
I want to say something. I want to say they're talking about black wealth numbers are horrible. Like Boston, average black wealth is like $8, and in Atlanta it's 46 to 1 or whatever. But when you see all the people I have the luxury of talking to people like you guys all the time. There's everyone in America I get to talk to. You realize how much effort and money they have to spend to hold us down. Literally, there are geniuses on this call, people who are brilliant. Dr. Steele's holding up his picture with Dr. King, and I'll let you close out with that. But when I see this, when I see what we could do with nothing, it shows you just how hard they have to work, how much of their energy they have to spend just to keep us from having anything. So, Dr. Steele, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
This is a picture of Dr. King that Mrs. Coretta Scott King presented to me. I was very close to Mrs. King. And what she was saying and presenting out, I got it right in the center of my house. What she was really saying, I hope you can see it. Freedom.
Just a little bit higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Freedom has always been, can you see it?
Not an expensive thing.
It's always been an expensive thing.
Yeah.
You can't have freedom without resources, without money. Dr. King developed a relationship with folks who black as well, but they had a mindset of freedom. And I've traveled the whole world. I've been in more countries than the average person could even think of going to.
Yeah.
And it's all been because they said, we want to be a part of what you are doing because we want to be a part of that train that bring about economics.
Yeah.
It's all about economics.
Yeah.
We quote Dr. King. Quote him here.
Yeah.
Quote him here.
Well, the one thing we always talk about is
you can't be free without money.
Well, and again, there were a billion. Somebody told me this number, but there were 600 black towns created and destroyed during Jim Crow.
Right.
So it's not like we haven't tried to be separate but equal. They just refuse to let us. It's not.
You got to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you got to know you can't have freedom without money.
That's absolutely, which is what they know.
The folks with the money gonna get the folks that 50% of them that's supposed to be following you. They going with the money.
Going with the money, absolutely.
Hello.
Well, gentlemen, I know Rob's gone, and I've taken up your Monday night. If anybody has anything they want to say in closing, we can. Otherwise, we can end it, and we'll keep talking.
Well, Kevin, reason I'm on here tonight because of you, because I ain't talking no more. I'm about action. It's too much talking going on.
Hey, you're a Southern funeral home director, former state senator. All you do is talk. You talk in your sleep. I know you got.
I do, but I keep moving. I'll go to jail non-violently. How many folks?
Hey, wait. Somebody has asked a question, Martin. Tracy, if you'll pull that for us. Somebody wants to know about the ads and lead generation from Martin. So Vernon Belmont Jr. So somehow Martin can connect with that person. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, gentlemen, thank you. You got anything to say, Bill? You want to close out with anything?
No, I was just saying thank you for inviting me on again. Life maximization, not profit maximization, and cooperation and collaboration is what I think we need at this point. But at any rate, I'm sure we'll have future discussions.
Absolutely.
I got to get out of here. The cleaning lady is behind me, so I got to get out of here.
All right, guys. Thank y'all. Thanks, Dr. Steele. Thanks, Martin.
Thanks, Dr. Steele.
Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
Now the real meeting began.